Am I the a-hole for being okay with my stepkids refusing to include me or have a relationship with me? I met my husband 2 years after his divorce. He was on decent terms with his ex-wife, and they shared custody of their 2 children civilly. She and I got along fine when we met. I was introduced to her briefly before the kids. Then I met the kids, and we got along really well. We even had a photo of just me and them taken on my husband's and my wedding day. Things with his ex got a little weird after the wedding. My husband's ex was different. I still can't describe it perfectly, but it was like she spoke with a small amount of hostility that hadn't been there before. It was such a small change, but we noticed it and tried asking her about it. She denied there were any problems. She even remarried herself and divorced soon after. My husband and I have twins together. When I was pregnant with them was when his ex's hostility was no longer hidden, and she was no longer saying everything was fine. She told my husband she was keeping the kids and that he would never see them again. He told her he would fight in court for them, which unfortunately had to happen because she withheld and even refused to hand them back over when the police were called to intervene. My husband was told he had to get the police involved so he could document her withholding the kids. Texts would not be enough. This continued for several months, and I gave birth during that time. When it finally went before a judge, he ordered my husband to get primary custody, and his ex would only be allowed supervised visits. At the time, my stepkids were 10 and 7. My relationship with my stepkids changed after this. They had heard nothing but awful things about me when their mom withheld them from us, and they believed her. I was told every day that they hated me. They told me I was never going to be their real family, and that they didn't have to be nice to me or listen to me. They would also make things harder for me, hiding or breaking things I was using, throwing stuff at me, cussing at me, and screaming at me at the top of their lungs. We got them therapy, and my husband told them disrespect would not be tolerated. It was a long, hard battle to get rid of the bad behavior. Even when a lot of it stopped, it didn't all go away. They were still cold and distant. They would answer, but it was always short, clipped responses, and there was no return of affection. They even tore up photos of us from before and cut me out of family photos they had. I was just there to be loving and a safe space for them. I never pushed or tried to punish them after a point, but I did keep loving them and was always open to them coming to me if they needed me. However, I logically saw that no change was happening. No amount of time or therapy thawed them out even a little. I saw the writing on the wall. I got my biological children therapy to help them deal with everything happening in the home. I spoke to my husband. He believed they would see the truth eventually and soften toward me again because I was good to them and wasn't being forced on them. In April, my stepdaughter turned 18 and moved into her mom's house. She graduated at the end of May and refused to invite me. She told my husband and her grandparents, my husband's parents, they were welcome, but not me or our kids. She had 3 tickets for them. My husband hesitated, but I told him to go and show her he still loved her. Her grandparents went too. A few weeks later, my stepson, who's 21, and his partner welcomed their first child. It was around this time that my stepkids told the family group chat that they wanted nothing to do with me. I was not going to meet my stepson's child or any future kids. I was not family. They would never make their mom deal with me, and they did not want me mentioned around them or the baby ever. I saw it coming and had prepared for it so I could handle it. My husband's parents saw me doing okay and took it as me not caring at all. I tried explaining it to them, but they said that if I truly cared, I would be a mess and would be begging my stepkids to love me and stop this. My husband told them I had time to prepare, but they said if I loved the kids, I never would have prepared myself because I would have hoped it into reality. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Your husband's kids sound like demon spawns from hell. I would focus on your own children and your family and keep no contact with them. His parents need to shut up because they have no idea how you feel or how the spawns acted. You knew the kids wouldn't change and prepared yourself for that. My stepkids were alienated by their mother. None of this is really their fault. They were put in a position to choose, and sadly, even when a parent doesn't put the kids first, it's hard to compete with the real parent. That is true for when they were kids, but now they are grown adults who can make their own choices and see the whole picture, yet they still act like a-holes. Sometimes the whole picture doesn't happen when it's the parent they have always loved versus the step-parent who was once new. The connection is different when the bond between child and biological or legal parent is that strong. They love their mom more, and she would never be okay with them having us both after all that's happened. What the stepkids did as children can be forgiven as childish behavior. Decisions they take as adults, however, must be accepted as final. They want you distraught because kids who have hated you for about 11 years still don't want you, laughing out loud. Forget them. Don't try to explain anything. It is their grandchildren who have made a very clear choice. If they want to change that choice, then they should deal with their grandkids. Otherwise, OP well done. You did your best for all these years. Now they can deal with their father and mother, and you can stay out of it. Oh, by the way, down the line when it comes, don't be left alone with that step-grandkid. It's a can of worms you want to avoid with a passion. Even if it is an emergency, do not under any circumstance treat it as anything but a trap. Not the a-hole. It is very clear to me that I will never lay eyes on my husband's grandchild, let alone any other children my stepkids may have. They are very clearly drawing that line between me and them. My in-laws can't understand being in my shoes. They have never been step-parents or dealt with the troubles as directly as I did. The kids still love them, but I have felt for years that things would never be the same. And after some time, I realized this was coming because, in the end, it would come down to a choice between me or their mom, and that was not something I could win, even if I didn't want to be in a situation like that. But she made it that choice. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my wife why our daughter doesn't trust her? So for the last few years, me, 36, and my wife, 34, have had a very strained relationship due to the way my daughter and wife interact. It started when my daughter was 13. She came to her mother and confided her feelings about our family friend's son. My wife decided that this was too cute not to share, and told everyone during a family barbecue, including the boy. This embarrassed my daughter, and I told my wife to stop as this upset our daughter. But my wife justified it at the time because they were just kids. I've always known my wife has a hard time keeping secrets, but I thought she would have at least tried since this was a touchy subject, especially for a growing teenager with her first real crush. After this incident, I started noticing things like this more, like my wife openly telling everyone our daughter's business. Admittedly, most of these incidents went unnoticed by me for years, because they were usually conversations between my wife and her friends when I wasn't around. She didn't like it when I interrupted girl time. However, I am noticing more now, my wife telling everyone about my daughter's private business, like texts, phone calls, and other secrets that she told her mom in the past, believing they would be kept private. As everything progressed, my daughter started getting closer to me, and I became the default parent who deals with medical issues, school drama, and crushes. This has upset my wife because my daughter refuses to have girl talk with her anymore, is usually cold, and doesn't like spending time with her. My wife decided to try and punish our daughter after finding out she got her first boyfriend and didn't tell her. Our daughter is 16 now, and I don't feel like it's necessary to punish her for these things when she has made a conscious decision to protect her privacy. I know she still loves her mom, but I understand her not sharing things she doesn't want to be spread or blown out of proportion. I came home to my wife yelling at our daughter and demanding her phone, her laptop, etc., all over this situation. This made me very angry because my daughter was in tears. She is still my little girl and doesn't deserve to be punished over something her own mother caused. I told my wife to leave her alone and that we would talk, but I also told her to give back the items, which my wife refused. She started screaming at me in front of our daughter, something I don't like, as I prefer to have calm conversations away from our daughter to prevent making her feel scared or uncomfortable. Eventually, after multiple attempts to calm her down so we could discuss this properly, she grabbed my arm and started digging her nails into my skin. I had enough at that point. I started ranting about how she always told our daughter's business to people, and how basically the whole family and all our friends knew everything about our daughter's personal life and medical history. I told her it was her fault our daughter doesn't trust her anymore, which made my wife start crying. She locked herself in the bedroom while I comforted our daughter and went out to get her some dinner. Now I'm home and getting the silent treatment from my wife. I'm wondering if I could have said something different, but I'm tired of her blaming our daughter every time she doesn't get told something. Now for the top comments before the mini update. Not the a-hole. Your wife freaking sucks. Your wife sucks in so many ways. First, her blabbermouth. Second, her punishment makes no sense. I'm grounding you until you start giving me what I want is stupid and ineffectual. I'm glossing over the fact that it is too harsh and doesn't do anything to understand or solve the underlying problem, because I'm stuck on how dumb these types of punishments are. I'll hurt you until you love me is not a winning strategy. Third, she isn't communicating with her big girl words, and is instead pouting and hoping you'll cave because she is in the finding out stage of her dumb need to gossip, and she doesn't like it. Fourth, she physically assaulted her husband in front of their child. Physical assault should always be a one and done. Once your partner lays hands on you, that is it. Break up. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Go to jail. OP, please take your daughter and leave. Pouting, screaming, attacking with nails. OP needs to get a lawyer and put his daughter first. This, because she doesn't think she's done anything wrong. I wonder when it's going to click with OP that his wife's girls know everything about their finances, sex life, and his medical history. Not the a-hole. And good on you for protecting your daughter. Her insistence on violating her privacy will only continue to hurt her. And now she has gotten physically aggressive with you. I highly suggest family therapy and couples counseling if you want to be anything but miserable in this marriage. She's not about to magically see why she's wrong and value and respect your daughter's privacy. Your daughter will want to apply to a school far away where she never sees her if she can't get her act together. Best of luck to you and your daughter. Thank you for actually bringing up family therapy. I've been debating this for a long time because I can see how strained our family is. But I've been apprehensive because I know my wife would most likely be very defensive if I brought it up. But I feel like it's really going to be inevitable at this point. I will have a discussion with her and see how this goes. Family therapy or divorce because that's where things are headed. Edit/mini update. I have read many comments talking about my wife, and I am seriously taking this all in. I really don't want my daughter to think this is okay for her future husband to treat her this way, so I am requesting my wife attend therapy by herself before she can join me and my daughter in family therapy. I am not putting my daughter in a situation where her mother will probably use the therapy sessions to punish her, as many have pointed out. If she refuses, I will look into separation because I have realized my daughter needs her dad to keep her safe, and she won't be safe if her mother is acting this way and normalizing this behavior. I am scared for my future, honestly, but I am also hopeful that I can show my daughter she is loved and safe. I will be sending my daughter to stay with her aunt for the rest of the week while I have this conversation, because I am not taking any chances that she'll have to listen to an argument between me and my wife. Last story. My dad tried to introduce his girlfriend, and it turned out to be my ex-best friend's mom. My 26 female went low contact with my childhood best friend Lila when I was 19, after she spread some truly nasty rumors about me. These weren't silly teenage whispers either. She told people I was sleeping with my teacher and stealing money from my parents. None of it was true, but it was humiliating. My social circle completely imploded, and I cut her off for my own sanity. We haven't spoken in years, and honestly, I thought I had left that part of my life behind. My parents divorced when I was a kid, and my dad, 51 male, hasn't really dated much since then. Recently, though, he called me up and said he wanted me to come to dinner because he had someone special for me to meet. I was actually happy for him. I thought maybe he'd finally met someone who made him feel excited about life again. I nearly choked when I walked into the restaurant. Sitting next to him was none other than Lila's mom, the same woman who once told me I was a bad influence on her daughter and outright banned me from their house. She was all smiles, hugged me like we were long-lost family, and kept saying how funny it was that life had brought us back together. I just sat there stunned while my dad grinned from ear to ear, clearly over the moon about this new relationship, and completely oblivious to how awkward the situation was for me. The dinner was surreal. Lila's mom kept bringing up stories from when Lila and I were kids, acting like we had just drifted apart naturally. Not a single acknowledgement of what actually happened. No apology. Not even a hint that she understood why this might be uncomfortable for me. My dad just kept encouraging me to share funny memories and seemed thrilled that his girlfriend and I already knew each other so well. I'm at a loss here. Part of me wants to tell my dad exactly why this feels so bizarre and why I have such a complicated history with his family. The other part of me wonders if I should just let it go, be polite, and keep my distance when necessary. Am I justified in feeling this uncomfortable, or is this one of those situations where I need to swallow my pride and just support my dad? You're not overreacting. This is a weird collision of past hurt and your dad's new life, and it makes total sense that your body went, absolutely not. Your dad probably has no idea about the depth of what happened with Lila and her mom, so step one is a calm, private talk with him, where you give just enough context to explain the knot in your stomach. Keep it simple. Dad, I want you to be happy, and I'm glad you're dating again. I also need you to know that Lila and her mom were a painful part of my past. There were rumors, and I was banned from their house. Seeing her mom suddenly as your girlfriend was a shock. I can be polite, but I'm not ready for closeness here. Please don't put me in shared events or try to fix anything between us. Ask for a couple of concrete things. No surprise joint dinners for a while. No pressure to reconcile with Lila. And discretion about your personal life. You don't want info passed along the grapevine. If his girlfriend brings up how funny it all is, you can gray rock it. Wild coincidence. I'm keeping my distance from that part of the past. Change the subject. You don't owe a rehash or forgiveness arc to make anyone comfortable. If your dad hears you and respects the boundary, great. You can support his happiness on your terms. If he waves it off or keeps pushing group hangouts, it's okay to opt out of those invitations and see him one-on-one for a bit. I'm happy to grab lunch with just you next week, is a complete sentence. The bottom line is, you don't have to swallow discomfort to be a good daughter. Be civil, be clear, and protect your peace. If the relationship with her becomes easier over time, cool. If not, that's also fine. Your dad's girlfriend can be his person without becoming your person. Consider this. Guys getting some are not gonna listen to their daughter's complaints about 7 years ago stuff. Guys getting some aren't going to listen to complaints about 7 seconds ago stuff. All they care about is getting some, especially not drama. Anything that doesn't involve them being either the victim or the aggressor is going to be considered drama.